Welcome back to Uprising. I'm Sonali. When President Obama made his surprise announcement just months ago on December 17th, 2014, he began by saying, "Today, the United States of America is changing its relationship with the people of Cuba." Those words marked a historic moment, the beginning of normalizing relations between the United States and Cuba after more than half a century of hostilities and a crippling trade embargo. While right-wing Cuban American leaders balked at the announcement, many on the American left and even in the mainstream rejoiced, unable to believe it was actually happening. One person who was not as surprised was my guest, Tom Hayden. Tom Hayden has done so much that it's impossible to recount his entire background, and so here is a distilled version. He was a leader of the student civil rights, peace, and environmental movements of the 1960s, most notably with the group Students for a Democratic Society. He was one of the infamous Chicago 8 on trial for activism during the Democratic National Convention. He went on to serve nearly 2 decades in the California legislature. He's written for years in The Nation magazine. He's also the director of the Peace and Justice Resource Center in Culver City, California. He's authored and edited over 20 books and has taught at UCLA, Scripps College, Pitzer, Occidental College, and the Harvard Institute for Politics. He's been active in an array of political campaigns, from ending sweatshop conditions to the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. His last 2 books were Inspiring Participatory Democracy, Student Movements from Port Huron to Today, and The Long 60s, from 1960 to Barack Obama. And his latest book, just out now, that we're going to be discussing for the hour, is Listen, Yankee, Why Cuba Matters. I'm so pleased to welcome you to the program, Tom.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Your distilled version of your bio took so long. Well,
yes, you left out the amateur baseball.
Of course I did.
Oh,
You're right, absolutely. Well, let's talk about the fact that you knew something that I think the rest of us didn't. When Obama made the announcement in last December, about normalizing relations with Cuba, it was just this huge surprise, but you kind of saw it coming. What did you know that we didn't?
I think it was apparent to me, at least sort of by intuition, around 2013. And I think it comes from studying Cuba, studying the relationship, interviewing a lot of former U.S. officials and Cuban officials. And the more I concentrated on it, it seemed to me implicit that they were moving towards normalization of some kind. And so I made the commitment to write a book that would forecast this. And along the way, I didn't know. I started to think. I started to wonder about myself. But a
lot of people doubted your prediction.
I doubted myself. But I had to rewrite the book after December 17th. So it is up to date. It actually describes the ins and outs of the process, how we got there, and it is a historic change. It is a triumph for the Cuban Revolution. It is a stepping back from regime change, in a sense, by the Obama realists. And there's some steps to go. People really need to know that it's not over, but finally we're beginning to listen to what the Cubans have to say.